Welcome back to another weekly recap of the NFL 2024-2025 season. Today, we got the Wildcard weekend matchups, and we have 6 games in total. Let me know in the comments below which results surprised you or did not. And if you like this type of content, like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out, and I appreciate all the support as we are trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. So without further ado, let's get straight into this one. The first game of the week was between the Houston Texans and the Los Angeles Chargers, in which the Texans beat the Chargers 32-12. Justin Herbert had one of his worst games of his career as he went 14 for 32 with 242 yards, a touchdown, and 4 interceptions. J.K. Dobbins led the team in rushing with 26 yards, and Ladd McConkey led the team in receiving with 197 yards and a touchdown. C.J. Stroud went 22 for 33 with 282 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. Joe Mixon led the team in rushing with 106 yards and a touchdown. Nico Collins led the team in receiving with 122 yards and a touchdown on the day. The first points of the game were scored by the Chargers as they scored a field goal on their opening drive as well as on their second drive. It wasn't until late in the second quarter that Houston answered with a touchdown and a field goal to end the half, taking a 10-6 lead over the Chargers. The Chargers only scored 6 more points in the second half as Houston pulled away and took the victory, as they will face the Kansas City Chiefs next week. The next matchup here in Wildcard Weekend was a AFC North Divisional matchup between the Baltimore Ravens and the Pittsburgh Steelers, in which the Ravens beat the Steelers 28-14. Russell Wilson went 20 for 39 with 270 yards and 2 touchdowns. Najee Harris led the team in rushing with 17 yards. George Pickens led the team in receiving with 87 yards and a touchdown. Van Jefferson also had a touchdown on the day. Lamar Jackson went 16 for 21 with 175 yards and 2 touchdowns. Derrick Henry led the team in rushing with 186 yards and 2 touchdowns. Isaiah Likely led the team in receiving with 53 yards. Rashad Bateman and Justice Hill each had a touchdown on the day. The first points of the game were scored on the Ravens' opening drive as they took a 7-0 lead. Heading into halftime, Baltimore had a 21-0 lead over the Steelers. The Steelers only put up 14 points as the Ravens scored one more touchdown, pulling off the 28-14 victory. They will face Josh Allen and the Bills next week. Next game of the week was between the Green Bay Packers and the Philadelphia Eagles, in which the Eagles beat the Packers 22-10. Jordan Love went 20 for 33 with 212 yards and 3 interceptions. Josh Jacobs led the team in rushing with 81 yards and a touchdown. Jaden Reed led the team in receiving with 46 yards on the day. Jalen Hurts went 13 for 21 with 131 yards and 2 touchdowns. Saquon Barkley led the team in rushing with 119 yards. Devonta Smith led the team in receiving with 55 yards. Both Dallas Goedert and Jahan Dotson each had a touchdown on the day. The first points of the game were scored by the Eagles on their opening drive with a touchdown. Heading into halftime, the Eagles had a 10-0 lead over the Packers. The Packers only scored 10 points in the second half as the Eagles pulled off the 22-10 victory over the Packers. The Eagles will face the Rams next week at Lincoln Financial Field. The next game of the week was between the Buffalo Bills and the Denver Broncos, in which the Buffalo Bills beat the Broncos 31-7. Bo Nix went 13 for 22 with 144 yards and a touchdown. Bo Nix led the team in rushing with 43 yards, and Cortland Sutton led the team in receiving with 75 yards. Troy Franklin also had a touchdown as he and Bo Nix set a new NFL record for a rookie-to-rookie touchdown pass. Josh Allen went 20 for 26 with 272 yards and 2 touchdowns. James Cook led the team in rushing with 120 yards and a touchdown. Curtis Samuel led the team in receiving with 68 yards and a touchdown. Ty Johnson also had a touchdown on the day. The Broncos opened up the scoring with a touchdown on their opening drive, and that was the only score that they had throughout the game as Buffalo pulled off the 31-7 victory. The next game of the week, Sunday Night Football, was probably the best wild card weekend matchup, and it was between the Washington Commanders and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, in which the Commanders beat the Buccaneers 23-20. Jaden Daniels went 24 for 35 with 268 yards and 2 touchdowns. Jaden Daniels led the team in rushing with 36 yards. De'Ami Brown led the team in receiving with 89 yards and a touchdown. Terry McLaurin also had 89 yards and a touchdown on the day. Baker Mayfield went 15 for 18 with 185 yards and 2 touchdowns. Bucky Irving led the team in rushing with 77 yards. Mike Evans led the team in receiving with 92 yards and a touchdown. Bucky Irving also had a touchdown receiving. The first points of the game were scored by the Buccaneers on the opening drive. The Commanders then scored a touchdown and a field goal, and the Buccaneers scored a touchdown to end the half as we were all tied up at 10 apiece. The Commanders opened up the scoring in the second half with a field goal on their opening drive. Buccaneers then scored a touchdown to take a 17-13 lead. The Commanders then took a touchdown and then was answered by a field goal by the Buccaneers to tie the game up at 20, and the Commanders kicked a last-second field goal, which was doinked for the victory as they had a 23-20 lead and will move on in the playoffs as they have a dance with Detroit next week at Ford Field. The next game of the week was the final one of the week, Monday Night Football between the LA Rams and the Minnesota Vikings, and this game got moved from SoFi Stadium to Arizona due to the wildfires, which we hope and pray everyone in LA recovers from. The Rams beat the Vikings 27-9 to face the Eagles next week. Sam Darnold went 25 for 40 with 245 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. Aaron Jones led the team in rushing with 48 yards. TJ Hawkinson led the team in receiving with 64 yards and a touchdown. Matthew Stafford went 19 for 27 with 209 yards and 2 touchdowns. Kyron Williams led the team in rushing with 76 yards. Tyler Higbee led the team in receiving with 58. Kyron Williams and Davis Allen each had a receiving touchdown on the day. First points of the game were scored by the Rams, a opening drive touchdown, and a field goal on the next drive. The Vikings then answered with a field goal, and heading into halftime, the Rams had a 24-3 lead over the Vikings. The Vikings only scored one touchdown in the second half as the Rams scored a field goal to give us the 27-9 victory. And that caps off all the games here in Wildcard Weekend in the 2024-2025 NFL Weekend. Let me know in the comments below, were there any surprise results for you? And who do you guys think will win the matchups next week? Let me know in the comments below. If you like this type of content, like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out, and I appreciate all the support as we are trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. If you're a fan of the NFL and college football, stay tuned as we'll be covering both all season long. Appreciate all the support, and we'll catch you in the next one. Take care.